What's happening, everyone? My name is James Lynch, and in today's video, I'm going to look back on the biggest upsets in the UFC this past year, and to make things a lot easier, I'm just going to go purely off betting odds. So Tapology does list the betting odds when fights happen for each fight, so I went off that, went through all the fights, and I did a tally from 1 to 10, so we're going to count down the top 10 here, and then I'll show you the full list when I'm done at the end, and I'll give my comments on some of these ones. So, for example, a fight like Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards doesn't even make the top 10 because Belal Muhammad was only a plus 210 underdog. So we're going to look at all the ones right now, and some of these I bet you probably forgot about. We're going to start first with Weston Wilson's win over Jeka at UFC Fight Night, Perez versus Taira. Wilson closing as a plus 280 underdog. Jeka was a minus 360 favorite, and I believe that was Wilson's first win in the UFC. He was totally counted out. Remember, he had to fight Gene Silva and Joanderson Brito, and he gets the win there. So that was a big win for Weston Wilson as he gets that first UFC victory. And for bettors on that end, you get a plus 280 underdog. Okay, next fight, as we're moving along on the list here, comes to us with a fight that was a bit controversial, but it was close. But that was Vanessa Demopoulos' win over Emily Ducote. Demopoulos was a plus 290 underdog, getting the win over Ducote. And I believe that was Ducote's last fight in the UFC after losing that one. If I'm not mistaken, yes, it was. So she gets released. Demopoulos, I believe, still under contract. Big win there for Demopoulos, who gets it done at plus 290. Okay, moving along on this list, we are going to go to a newcomer in the UFC, Chris Padilla, getting the win over Llontop, Goku. Getting it done on the Nicolau Perez card that was back in April. He wins that fight by first round submission. He was a plus 340 underdog. So pretty impressive for Chris Padilla. Taco coming into the UFC, 28 years old, getting it done and helping those bettors out who bet him at plus 340. Okay, moving along here. Coming in at number 7. This one's a bit more notable here. And if you look at the odds at the time, it was a bit of an upset. And that was Rob Font defeating Kyler Phillips. Rob Font was a plus 350 underdog against Phillips. Kyler Phillips was minus 455. So Font at 37, getting a huge win, probably to some degree saving his job there, getting the win because he was on a bit of a losing streak going into that one. Kyler Phillips was on a nice win streak, and it's Font's the one who defeats him by decision. That was on the Pereira Hernandez card back in October of 2024. So yeah, very, very big win there for Rob Font. Coming in at number 6, this was another UFC newcomer, Cameron Smotherman. Big upset over Jake Hadley, plus 380 for Cameron Smotherman, minus 500 for Jake Hadley. He wins the decision in this one, no controversy there. That was also on the Pereira Hernandez card back in October. And, it was a long road to the UFC for him. You remember he had some adversity, and then he comes in, and the story on this is wild too. If you remember hearing, he was actually in the Middle East cornering a teammate, I believe it was Rafion Stotts, and he gets on the next flight, and I think he basically told the UFC he was going to make weight, and he ended up making it. He wasn't sure if he was going to, and he gets a big win over Jake Hadley. Huge win there for Cameron Smotherman, who comes in at our number 6 spot. Okay, now we're getting into the top 5 here. This was one again that I kind of forgot about. Ketlin Souza defeating Yasmin, getting the win in the very first round by submission. That was on UFC 306, the Sphere card. She was a plus 380 underdog in this fight. So I actually think same odds as Smotherman. And same odds as Smotherman as well. So they end up in a tie here. But Ketlin Souza, really impressive victory there, considered one of the best submissions this year as well, and getting it done there. So she gets the number 5 spot. Getting to number 4, this might be a bit surprising considering what he's done after that. Actually, this won't be too surprising, but maybe you forgot about this fight. And that is Anthony Smith taking out Vitor Petrino, I should say. First round submission victory there. Anthony Smith was plus 400 on the odds, 35 years old, taking out the 26-year-old Brazilian who's undefeated at the time. Big win there for Anthony Smith, getting it done. And, getting in the win column. And that obviously earned him the fight after that against Dominic Reyes, if I'm not mistaken, which we just saw not that long ago at the time of recording this. Yeah, that was the... he lost to the Leeds in between there. But you get what I'm saying here. It kind of gave him a bit new life in the division by getting that big win as a plus 400 underdog. Okay, we're getting into the top 3 now. Our next one is, I have the wrong one up here, unfortunately. Let me just find the right screen I'm looking for. Here we go. This was one that I think people might have forgot about, I should say. How about OSP taking out Kennedy and Nzechukwu? Sorry, as my browser's kind of tripping out here. There we go. OSP was plus 500. 40 years old, takes out the 31-year-old who is minus 700, and he gets the split decision in that one. It wasn't a finish, obviously, but still, for bettors of OSP, that's some, I mean, it's understandable why people would take the, the fighter that's a bit younger, well, more than a bit younger, 9 years younger, I think. But yeah, bit of a surprise there. OSP getting the win over Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and of course Nzechukwu not even in the weight class anymore. He now competes up at heavyweight, as we saw just a couple weeks ago. Okay, now let's get to our last couple ones here. This one was a very, very big win as well. Coming in at number 2, it's Zahabi. I didn't realize he was this big of an underdog. Plus 575 against Javid Basharat, who's minus 900. Zahabi, again, the older fighter, 36 years old, taking out the 28-year-old. And that was Javid's first loss in the UFC. And it was a pretty dominant win, too. It was a decision that was on the Rozenstruik and Gaziev card back in March. And obviously, we've seen Zahabi win since then. He's been on quite the roll, Zahabi. So really impressive start to the year, and nice finish for him as well, as far as what he's been able to put together. And if you've been paying attention, this fight actually happened recently. This is the biggest betting upset of 2024 if we're going strictly off the odds. And that was Gabriela Fernandes taking out Wang. Of course, Wang, a big favorite for the simple fact that she's fought and defeated Valentina Shevchenko a number of years ago, a great striker. And Gabriela Fernandes came into this one as a plus 625 underdog. So a huge underdog. You can see there, 31, a year younger. But, getting a submission victory over Wang, who obviously lacks a little bit in that area. But she was undefeated at 6-0. And again, I'll reference it there. Again, she had the win over Valentina in kickboxing back in 2015. So a lot of people were putting stock in that. And then obviously she had the first round finish over Victoria Leonardo. But Fernandes didn't care about the odds in that one. She went out there and got the second round submission. So no questions asked there. And that was on the Jan Figueiredo fight in China back in November. So a little bit more recent, but that was the biggest upset of 2024 if we're going strictly off betting odds. Now, obviously optically, you could have a bunch of different picks, but I wanted to just stick with the numbers. That way people can't debate this. It's not like you can say, well, that was a bigger upset. I'm just going off the odds right now. So the odds are telling everything. Now let's look at the full list here. We got a little bit of time. I put this in a nice notepad here for you guys to check out. So look at this right now. Let me zoom in on this for you guys a little bit there. So yeah, you can see the top 10, but here's 11 onwards. So Tomar defeating Amanda. That was at Cannonier and Imavov on that card, plus 280. Cannonier was plus 280 defeating Melissa Mullins. That was on the Alan Curtis 2 card. Austin Lane defeating Robulis. Remember that? That obviously Robulis not in the UFC anymore. He was plus 275 in the betting odds. We also had, I guess Tomar actually kind of tied with Wilson. Probably should have included them in the video. And then you had Nicholas Moda, remember, defeating Nolan at the Ankalaev Walker card. That was pretty big. Gerald Mershart defeating Edmund Shabazi, and I referenced him in another video. He took him out by submission. That was on the Cannonier Kaio card. And then also at plus 250, Brandon Royval taking out Tatsuro Taira in the main event of that their card a couple months back. And most recently, actually on the last UFC card, Dustin Jacoby was plus 250, taking out Victor Petrino. And then just for reference, because everyone always brings this one up, Bilal Muhammad was only plus 215 against Leon Edwards. So again, not as big as some of these other ones here that are like at plus 280. Dan Hooker over Mateusz Gamrot was another one coming in at plus 210. You had Oliveira defeating Ricky Simone at UFC 303. That was another big one too. And yeah, the list goes on. So this is a full list. Moicano defeating Saint Denis. Actually, Moicano defeating Saint Denis should be a little bit higher on this list. This should be ahead of Bilal Muhammad right here. And that's where we're at right now. And actually, Nico Price defeating Alex Morono. There's another one I missed slightly in the top 15. That was also at coming in at for UFC 302. So there you go. Biggest upsets. I just went through all the odds, and you can see what the list was there. But again, the biggest upset this year, Gabriel Fernandes coming in at plus 625. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which of these surprised you the most? What do you think of the odds? Let me know in the comments. What were some of your big upsets that you remember from this year? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @LynchOnSports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.